guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It is so greatly appreciated. Truly, truly is. So, today we're going back down the Reddit rabbit hole with two stories about people that basically avoided being killed literally just by a hair, okay? I have not read these stories. I have no idea what is in them. I'm going to react to them right now for the first time with you guys. So the first one is I dodged being murdered by my psychotic roommate just by a hair. I'm a 36-year-old female in Sweden. I've worked in mental health care for the last 18 years, mainly with people with psychotic illnesses like schizophrenia. I was working at a group home for 9 years and was very close to my coworkers there, especially two females. The last few years I worked there, another female started working there. Let's call her M. And the four of us grew very close. She was very timid, shy, friendly, and we got along well. She was, however, often on long-term sick leave because of her own mental health issues, so we didn't meet much at work. But she always showed up at our after-work dinners, so we continued to stay in touch, even when she wasn't well enough to work full-time. She told us that she had a history of schizophrenia herself, just like the patients we were treating, but that she was medicated and hadn't had any psychotic episodes for years. Since I have an education in psychiatry and a long experience with schizophrenia, I have no judgment towards people suffering from the illness, and it didn't bother me being friends with someone who had a diagnosis like that. And even after what I will tell you, I still feel the same way. Oh God, I don't even know where this is going, but I probably know that I'm not going to feel, I wouldn't feel the same way if this was me. I'm assuming. But let's find out. The summer of 2023, I moved on to work at a new place, also within mental health, but this time forensic psychiatry, like a halfway house for mentally ill murderers, etc. The four of us stayed in touch and still meet every now and then for dinner parties. Em told us that she had been evicted from her apartment because of an incident where she accidentally entered her neighbor's apartment in the middle of the night. She told us that in the huge apartment complex, the doors all look exactly the same, and that she simply walked in the wrong door by accident, and that the neighbors created a scene out of pure drama and reported her to police. Could that really, could you get evicted for that? I somehow felt that while that sounded out of proportion to evict someone just from that, perhaps the landlord took that kind of action because he judged her based on her medical history, and I felt bad for her. I questioned her if something else happened, and she claimed that it didn't, and that was the full story. In Sweden, it's very difficult to get a contract for an apartment when you've gotten evicted. You pretty much get blacklisted. Em asked me if she could move in with me since she was literally on the street, literally homeless, and I said, of course you can. I've always gotten myself into uncomfortable situations by saying yes instead of thinking about myself, and I had no idea how severe the situation would get when I said yes to Em. Oh Lord. Here we go. I live in a pretty small apartment. It's a one bedroom that pretty much only fits a bed and a desk, a living room that fits a couch and a TV, no room for an extra bed, a small kitchen and a small bathroom, and I have two cats. We decided that Em was going to live in the living room, and I offered her to throw my couch out so she could have a bed there, but she said that she was fine with sleeping on the couch since it's comfortable enough. I insisted on giving her a bed, but she declined. Damn, girl. There's a door between the living room and the bedroom, but between the living room and the hallway, there's just an open arch, so she would have total privacy. I hung up a thick velvet curtain covering the arch, so at least it gave her the sense of a door and more privacy. There's another door from my bedroom to my kitchen, so I have two doors to my bedroom. I have to have one of them open at night since my cats want to go in and out, and they also have their litter boxes in the bathroom and food and water in the kitchen. I naturally kept the kitchen door open and not the living room door, since that's where Em lived and we wanted to keep our privacy somehow. She wasn't working at this time because she was on one of her long-term sick leaves while I was working shifts. So sometimes I had to get up at 6 a.m. and sometimes I didn't get home till 11 p.m. I have really bad insomnia and I need to combine pills. And even with this, I still wake up easily. I told her that I would appreciate if she could try and stay quiet those nights when I have to get up at 6 a.m., but that it's fine if she's allowed when I'm off work or when I do the evening shifts. She's a heavy smoker and coffee drinker, so I bought her a coffee machine. Yeah, I know I'm a weirdo who don't drink coffee very often, so I don't have one to make her enjoy her living situation more. God, girl. The coffee machine and the sink is placed right outside my bedroom door. The kitchen is very small. So, the first night together, I had to get up at 6 for my shift. As usual, I had a hard time falling asleep. Em had been up several times that night to go out to smoke, and I woke up every time. At 5 a.m., she started making coffee, and since it's literally outside my bedroom door, I got wide awake from the sound of it. I can tell you that I also have an incredibly difficult time sleeping. And literally, the second you wake me up, it's a wrap for me. It's game over, and it is the most frustrating thing in the entire world. I will have full-blown meltdowns if you wake me the fuck up. Because that's it for me. It's done. It sucks. It really sucks. I asked her in the nicest way possible why she was up this early, asking if she had any plans today. I mean, she's on sick leave. Why not sleep at 5 a.m. if you can? She just said that she couldn't sleep. I said, I'm sorry. I would just appreciate it if you could wait with making the coffee until 6 a.m. since I really need the last hour of sleep because of work. Adding to why I need my sleep is that I have epilepsy. Oh, God. That gets really bad when I don't get enough sleep. I usually get a lot of seizures when I don't get at least 4 hours of sleep. I knew that I would probably get seizures at work now. Oh my God. Meaning that this day would be both stressful and potentially dangerous for me since there's a huge risk that I fall and hurt myself. And it's not a good thing to get cramps and seizures among mentally unstable criminal clients who you are supposed to care for. I know that it's not an ideal situation to work in that field with my condition, and I can inform you all that I did quit after only 6 months. She said that she really wanted coffee with her cigarettes, but that she would try to wait the next time I have to work. I accepted it and went on with my day, but things did not get better. She continued to wake me up early in the morning and through the nights, and continued to promise to stop, but insisted that she really wanted coffee with her cigarettes. I suggested making the coffee the night before or drinking iced coffee or Coke instead, but she didn't want to do that. I may add that she demanded for me to be silent at 10 p.m. because that's when she wants to sleep, and I respect that. It's your first mistake. Because she's your guest. I'm assuming since she's not working and she's on the streets, she's not paying you anything. So she should be respecting you. Granted, you guys, I guess, should be respecting each other, but she should absolutely be respecting you before you're respecting her. She used to get these moments of binge eating where she would empty my fridge and pantry from everything I had. I remember this one time when I bought a big loaf of bread. She texted me 30 minutes after I left for the apartment saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I ate your loaf of bread. I will buy it back once I get money." Like an entire loaf of bread in 30 minutes. I told her when she moved in to feel at home and what's mine is yours. So I couldn't really get mad at, but it started to annoy me for two reasons. It was getting kind of expensive since it was such huge amounts, and it was always in inconvenient times of the day. Like after an evening shift when the store was closed and I came home hungry and she had emptied the kitchen from everything I bought the same day. Em had long black hair that was everywhere, all over the sink, the floor, the bathtub. I'm no clean freak, but I think anyone could understand that this isn't the nicest thing to step in or see everywhere in your house. She also left her fingernails and toenails on the bathroom floor. There was also pee drops on the toilet seat every time she had been to the toilet. What? It's fucking gross. I saw a silverfish on my bathroom floor. Never ever seen one before. And they eat hair and skin and nails. So I figured this fella probably enjoyed life because of the new dirty condition my bathroom was in. At first, I didn't want to say it straight out because I thought it would hurt her and I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. So I just put a broom and shovel in the bathroom to imply that we need to sweep the floor more often. Didn't seem to work, so after a while, I told her in the nicest possible way with a smile on my face, do you think we could try to clean the floor in the bathroom more often? We tend to lose some hair when we brush, and I'm afraid we might get pests. So I silverfished the other day, and I don't want it to get worse. I always made sure to say we instead of you so she wouldn't feel attacked. Yes. She promised to think about it, but nothing changed. What the fuck do you have to think about? What do you have to think about? Just curiously. Meanwhile, you're living off this girl, you're eating off this girl. That house should be fucking, you should be able to eat your meals on the floor. I started dating a guy and was head over heels for him. He was also in a roommate situation, so we had a tough time getting any alone time. I asked Em if there's any chance that we could get one night to ourselves every now and then in my apartment, and that she, of course, would get the apartment to herself as well. She didn't like the idea and claimed that she had nowhere to go, no friends or family. Now, I wasn't asking for her to leave for 24 hours, just a few hours so we could get some quality time together. She could just go to the library or take a walk or whatever. I was at work for 8 to 10 hours, 5 days a week, so she got a lot to herself. One of our old coworkers realized that this was really tearing at my mood to never get any time for myself. So I started feeling really suffocated. She offered that Em could stay the night at her place. After all, they were friends too. Em said she didn't want to bother her, but we told her that she didn't. They're friends. She's more than welcome, and I really just want one night to myself with my guy. I didn't understand why she made such a big deal over leaving the apartment for just one night. She eventually accepted and spent the night there, and I spent the night away the next week so she could get more alone time too. Why? When I came home the next morning from my night away, I saw that my cat's water bowl was completely dried out. There was no spill on the floor, and it looked like it had been wiped out with a towel or paper. I had filled it up to the brim just the night before. I asked her how this was possible, and she said that the cats must have tipped it out, but there was nothing on the floor, like I said. My cats are overly social and usually cuddle up to strangers after just a few minutes. I noticed that the cats withdrew from her more and more often. And the last couple of weeks, they never left my bedroom except for when they ate or used the litter box. It seemed like they were scared of her, which I couldn't figure out since she was so timid. I had this old saucepan from the 60s that meant a lot to me. You probably wonder how a saucepan can mean a lot to someone, but it was my grandmother's, and it's the only thing I have that belongs to her. My mother used to cook for me in it when I was little, so it has great nostalgic value for me. She burnt it one day and made no attempt to clean it. She just left it on the stove and went out to smoke. I found it ruined and cried. She didn't say I'm sorry. She also broke dishes several times and didn't bother to replace them or apologize. This added to my frustrations with her naturally. It had probably been 2 months now, and she kept waking me up at night, kept binge eating my food, never cleaned, never left the house, scared my cats, and ruined my things. I realized she stole my prescription sleeping pills, lots of them as well. And I only get one per night. Not more, not less. As you already know, I really need them. I had 20 of them in the nightstand when I left for work. When I came home, they were gone. She denied it, which is pretty hilarious since no one else could have been there. My frustration was getting heavy. The summer heat was strong, and I felt locked up in my tiny bedroom with my two cats, never getting any time to myself, never getting any alone time with the guy I was dating, except for once every 14th day. My apartment was messy, and she was stealing from me. Out of nowhere, my elementary school classmate texted me on Facebook asking me how I know M. He had seen that I had posted on Facebook that we were roommates now. I told him that we're old coworkers and that she needed a place to stay because she got evicted. He said, I know. Do you know why she was evicted? Oh, Lord. Yeah, she accidentally went into her neighbor's apartment. He said, that's not the full story. She broke in, snuck up to their sleeping baby with a knife in her hand. But luckily, the father woke up and wrestled her down and managed to save the baby. What? I felt sick to my stomach. Could this be true? It would certainly explain why she was evicted. But it just sounded so horrible, and she's such a timid, nice girl. I had so many questions, but my friend had the full police report. Apparently, the couple that M had broken into was his ex-girlfriend and her family. It seemed that M had a psychosis during the break-in, but those parts weren't public. It was, however, clear to me that she'd been lying to me about what happened, about how long she had been mentally stable. I started getting quite paranoid now. Oh, can't imagine why. And I was already frustrated with everything and really wanted her to move out. We did, however, have a contract that she had 30 days notice. I knew that if I asked her in a harsh way, it would mean 30 days of chaos until she moves out. So I wanted to handle this as nicely as I could. I started looking for cheap hostels for her that I could suggest to her so she wouldn't be on the streets. I sat down with her and told her that I loved living with her and I feel really horrible for this, but I just miss my alone time and that the apartment is too small for two people. I said it wasn't personal and that I wouldn't want to live with anyone right now and that I wished it would have worked out and that I'm really sorry and hope we can remain friends. She looked crushed and said that it wasn't possible. I showed her the hostels I found and said that I understand that it wasn't the ultimate situation, but I really needed her to move out because I felt suffocated. And also, the summer heat was making it tough to always have the door to the bedroom closed, and that it was tough for me to not get enough sleep. She said okay, that she was going to try to move out, but not until 30 days had passed, so I said, of course. The first night after our talk, she got up, made her coffee at 2:30 a.m. I nearly had a mental breakdown. I was going to get up at 6 and couldn't go back to sleep. I asked her in the morning for probably the 10th time not to make coffee till I get up. But she didn't even answer me. She just sat in the sofa and stared out the window. I said, M, and she kept staring. I was freaked out but left for work. I would have dropped the coffee machine outside of the window. I would have dropped it off the out of the window. I would have smashed it. Just saying. She kept being weird, kept making a mess, kept waking me up, kept eating my food, and all I could think about was the incident with her and the baby and the knife. I eventually got so pissed off by being woken up by the coffee maker, I plugged it out and stored it in my attic, which she had no access to. It may be childish, but I was getting so tired at this moment. I would have been a little more childish, apparently, because I didn't think that. I thought, let's fucking smash it. You don't drink coffee anyway. My sleeping pills were stolen, and I was starting to feel like Edward Norton in the beginning of Fight Club. Well, the next day I woke up at 4 a.m. by her making coffee in a saucepan. My grandmother's saucepan, that one was ruined. I tried talking to her again, explaining the situation, but she just stared and didn't reply. Me being frustrated and on the tipping point, took the saucepan and stored it in the attic as well. I know. But I was going crazy and I just wanted her to stop with these nightly coffee routines to get the hint. Third night, I had the guy I was dating sleeping at our place because I was getting really paranoid now over her weird behavior. Not speaking with me, just staring into space. I woke up from my very light snooze by him poking me. He whispered, "Look." In the doorway, M was just standing there silently staring at us. Oh, Lord. This is like a scene from a horror movie with her long black hair over her face. I kid you not. She didn't say anything at first because I wanted to know if she just stood there for a second doing something by the door. But I realized after a while that she was actually just standing still staring at us. It reminded me of the ending of Paranormal Activity when Katie just stares at Micah in the final scene. So I sat up and said, "What are you doing?" But before I could finish the sentence, she just slammed the door shut, and I heard the sound of something metal falling on the floor and her running into the living room. I yelled out, "You need to leave," and started crying hysterically because this was turning into a fucking nightmare. Of course, I didn't go back to sleep, and I was really happy that I had company that night. I just kept asking myself, had she done this before? Stared at me in my sleep. The next day, when I got out of bed, I opened the door that she slammed shut and saw a kitchen knife on the floor. Oh, my Lord. So that was the metal sound I had heard before she ran off. I took all the knives and locked them in the attic as well. I then asked a friend of mine to come to my house and be here when I tell her she has to move out immediately, that I can't wait the 30 days, that I can't wait 27 days. During the conversation, I really tried to stay calm. I knew she had mental illness. I know she means no harm. Even though I was so frustrated, I couldn't hate her. I was mostly scared and tired. She, however, didn't even answer when I talked to her. She just kept staring out the window. She left the apartment and sent me a text message instead saying that I was disrespectful for bringing a friend over to her place. Nighttime came and I thought this would be a quiet night finally. No coffee maker or saucepans. But at 3 a.m., I woke up by her burning dry coffee powder in a frying pan. At this moment, I just felt terrified of her. Her face was dead. Her eyes were black. I suspected that she had gone into psychosis. I stopped the fire just as she ran off to the living room in silence. I knew she had an appointment with her psychiatrist the next day, and while she was away, I packed all her things. I then sent her a text telling her that she needs to pick them up and give me my keys back, and that I will give her money for a hostel for the upcoming 26 days. She didn't reply. The guy I was seeing came to keep me company in case she would fight about it. She didn't. She left the keys without looking at us and left. Our co-workers who were friends with us both told me that she moved in with a guy that she was dating, and she stayed there for a few weeks till she somehow amazingly got an apartment of her own. She started working again, and I was really happy to hear this. She seemed to do well. Then in January of this year, one of our old co-workers told me that Em had called her and told her that everything must burn, that she has a baby that she must save, and other delusional stuff. She had called 112 Swedish emergency phone number, like our 911, about this, but they hadn't taken it seriously. Em had then proceeded to burn her entire apartment down because the voices in her head were telling her that she has to burn everything to save her friends and family. Okay. Her neighbors had tried to rescue her from the fire, but she fought them off and ran back and poured liquor on the fire to make it burn more. She was arrested and sentenced last week for aggravated arson. She will serve her time in a mental institution prison for a long time, possibly forever. What's ironic is that she will probably be in the facility where I used to work and end up where she used to work herself. Talk about shit coming full circle. My old coworker was a witness at the trial, and apparently she had stopped taking her medication because she thought that it made her feel numb, and she thought she was stable enough to function without it. Apparently not. She had also stopped taking her medication the last few weeks when she stayed at my house. So when she stared blankly into space, she was going into psychosis. When she stared at me with the knife in her hand, when she burnt the frying pan that last night, it's disturbing to think what would have happened to me and my cats if she would have stayed, or if I would have been a heavy sleeper. I also think what would have happened to that baby that she snuck into before she was evicted. And yeah, I know it's crazy that I didn't just throw her out by then, but it's complicated. The reason why I haven't been able to talk about it with my friends is because they sympathize with her and have minimized my experience. And they think that I make a bigger deal out of it than I believe it has been. I sort of understand it since they have never seen the darkness in her eyes that I saw those last couple of days. Update. I just remembered some other things that I wanted to add to the post. There were several times when I was going to work early in the morning that she occupied the bathroom by taking long baths. I patiently tried to wait till last minute before knocking and asking if she could get up and get back in after I'd gotten ready and left for work. Just another thing to add it to my frustration. I felt really ill one time when she was staying here. I didn't know at the time what it was, but I woke up early in the morning one day feeling very nauseous. On my way to the bathroom, I literally shit myself and throw up at the same time. It takes like 10 seconds to get to the bathroom, so you can imagine how bad it was when I didn't even make it. I had a really high fever and kept throwing up and shitting myself all morning. And anyone who has been through this will understand that you want the bathroom to yourself. Actually, I think it's pretty understandable that you want to be completely alone when you are this ill. My head was spinning and I was nearly hallucinating from the high fevers. One random thing I laugh about today is that it was Eurovision week, and for some reason, the flute solo from Moldova song was stuck on repeat in my head while I was in and out of fever dreams. I have a hard time listening to it to this day. Anyway, working in healthcare, I also have a natural instinct of not wanting to spread infections. So my first thought was that besides wanting to be alone, I didn't want to risk giving this to M, so I begged her the moment I noticed I was ill to please leave me alone for her own sake. I could barely speak because it made me throw up that easily. Our friend in common had asked her to water her plants that week, so she had the keys to her place and could have been alone there. M refused to leave, and I swear if I had the energy to slip out the window and fall to my death, I would have, but I couldn't. I was half sitting, half laying on the toilet with the bucket in my lap, my head sort of resting in the bucket of puke because I couldn't hold it up from the high fever, and I just begged through whispers for her to leave so she wouldn't be ill too. I told her, "What if you get sick too? We can't share the toilet. I will be here all day. You should go to her place before it's too late, please." Eventually, she left pissed at me. It turned out I had a severe case of food poisoning, and I was well again after 2 days. But my God, the fact that she refused to leave is something I felt I had to add to the story because it frustrates me too. But did she poison you? That's where I went, I have to say. It's immediately where my head went. I also went through our conversations and saw me asking her how long the door had been closed. That reminded me that she used to shut my cats inside my bedroom while I was away at work or wherever, so they couldn't eat, drink, or use the litter boxes. She claimed she just recently closed it because she was trying to sleep, but I remember she did it in the middle of the day one time, the last few days too. Damn, girl. You weren't kidding. That is some crazy shit. Narrowly avoided being murdered. I don't know if can come anywhere close to the last one, but let's see. This is a story of someone I know I had to cut ties with because he was a fucking psycho. It started about 4 years ago when I was living in a friend's house while attending a nearby university. It was myself, my friend, his sister, and their parents. Roughly about 2 weeks into staying there, my friend's sister invited her boyfriend to live in the house too. And by all accounts, he was a pretty cool guy at first. Very sociable and full of great stories. We often sat around the table for drinks or talked about life, having a smoke in the garden. Within the first month, however, as he started to get comfortable, cracks started to show in his veneer. He would rant about government conspiracy, how he was always a wronged party. He was big into Sigma male bullshit and martial arts. And Christ, did he have a temper. He had this big dog he always kept in a cage that was extremely violent when he wasn't around. The dog attacked his girlfriend and had to be put down. That's when the guilt trips towards her began and the ranting became incessant. About 2 months later, he had the bright idea to live in a shipping container, mainly because the parents wanted him out, and dragged his girlfriend along for the ride. Okay, real quick. I will never love anybody enough to go live in a shipping container with them. What the fuck? What is this? I'm not talking about one of those chic little restoration jobs. This was a rented container in a storage yard among the outskirts of the town we were living in. He would intimidate and threaten the staff there constantly until they called the police. This, of course, was another conspiracy. He became increasingly ABUSC to his girlfriend to the point where the family got involved to get her out of there. I stuck close to them, having to pretend to be on his side until we could safely get her out of there. They broke up, which he blamed me for, claiming I was poisoning her against him to make her mine. She has a new partner now, and they are very happy. We all blocked the psycho ex on everything possible, but he continued to harass them until eventually he disappeared, or so we thought. Fast forward to last year. I started to receive messages over social media from several different accounts, blocking each one in turn when I discovered who it was. Some friendly, some hostile. One of these profiles, however, was pretending to be someone I knew from university. We talked about life and how things were going. Eventually, I was invited to a house party, claiming it was a free house and plenty of people were coming. I booked the time off work, made my travel plans, and kept talking to this friend coming up to the date of the party. I mentioned it to my friend's sister, and she was interested in going herself, until I mentioned the address and she panicked. The address in question was a property belonging to the crazy ex's father that was scheduled for sale. I waited until the day of the party and called the police to check the property, claiming a suspected break in. They found 5 people there, including the ex, parked out front with a butcher's van equipped for food storage and a collection of knives, hammers, and rope. I'm glad I didn't go. What? Oh, yeah, girl, you were dead. Flat out. You're a goner. Thank God you didn't go. Okay, well, if you are still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, comment if you haven't yet and you feel so inclined to, because it really, really helps me out. I really, really need it. And until next time, stay safe out there, please.